Howdy, howdy. It is September. It is Friday, September 1st. And my name is Trisha Broderick with Ignite Insight and Innovation coming live like I have on the first Friday of every month, which I didn't actually think that was going to play out to where I was never going to be training on the first Friday of each month, but it's worked out so far. So I'm going to go with it. And we're headed into a holiday weekend. And so I'm done after this, people. Hopefully you are too. So maybe some of you will be watching me live. Maybe some of you will be watching this recording next week. Kind of depends on your feelings and frustrations with estimating, but I will try not to be too feisty. No promises though. No promises. So this topic is going to be my pet peeves associated to it, with a little bit of informational kind of dynamics to it. But let's kind of go at the core of estimating. So to talk about estimating, you kind of have to understand a basic like task versus knowledge work kind of dynamic. So task work is something I have, like if I wanted to rebuild this chair that I have right here and I did it a second time, I know exactly what I'm doing, exactly how I'm doing it. I can pretty much, my estimates, almost a guarantee. There might be some microscopic differences, or something might break like a screw or, issue like that. But for the most part, task work is where you know upfront exactly what you're building, and which means an estimate really is a guarantee. Knowledge work is we have to discover value. If I say I want a chair, what chair? Not this chair. Well, what kind of chair do you want? I don't know. Well, I don't know. If I were to estimate how long it's going to take me to build, I don't even know what chair you want, right? We have to discover value in those cases. So in knowledge work, estimating is just a guess. I know, it sucks, but it's just a guess. That's the truth. Task work, it's a guarantee. Knowledge work, it's a guess. But the problem is that so many of our organizational practices, best practices, leadership approaches, status reports, all of these things treat estimates of knowledge work like they are task work. They treat these estimates like guarantees. So we can say it all day long. Well, we'll put disclaimers on things like, well, this is just an estimate. It's a big, ugly, estimate and things like this. And it's like, but at the end of the day, people walk around, are you done yet? Are you done yet? Are you done yet? You say you were going to be done. And so then we play these games like padding and all these things. And it's just, at the end of the day, we have to embrace that estimating and knowledge work is a guess. Estimating and task work is a guarantee. So if it's a guess, one of my pet peeves is a lot of people are like, well, then we'll just not estimate at all. It's like, no, like there is benefits to estimating even in knowledge work. You can find discovery. Somebody might go, oh, I think it's going to be this big, and somebody else is way low and they're like, why? And oh, I thought about logging, or I was thinking about this. And it's like, oh, so there's discovery, there's alignment that's happening. There's the ability to start inspecting and adapting. And over time, you can get a guess, but it is still a projection, right? Like if in general, we get to a pretty good place and we know roughly how much work we can get done, still a guess, but I can project and then I can inspect and adapt. So there's benefits to estimating. I am not in the camp of like, well, if it's just a guess, don't even waste your time. No. That discussion is valuable on many fronts, both primary and secondary, even in knowledge work. Okay. 2, the counter to that pet peeve is the opposite pet peeve of spending way too much time estimating. Don't do it. It's just a guess. There's a sentiment where it's like, ask a number of questions, and then at some point, if you keep asking questions, you keep analyzing, you're not adding any additional value. So I like to I tend to think of it as like the 20 question game. You get 20 questions. After that, just guess and move on, because it is a guess. So don't spend too much time trying to make it a guarantee, because that's really what you're doing in that case. And at that point, you're diminishing your returns on the benefits. 3, which builds off of that one, is go relative, not precise. if knowledge work estimating is a guess, I really struggle with people that are like, well, we're going to estimate it and we're going to make it 1 hour. Well, an intern's 1 hour is different than a senior developer's 1 hour. And if the senior developer said 1 hour, that intern never wants to take on that work because they're going to look bad. And so one of the things I really do love about in the agile space was the practice of just labeling and relative sizing. And I don't care if your labels are story points or they're t-shirt sizes or they're animals from an ant to an elephant or superheroes. Don't care. Don't care what the label is. But I really like the concept of a relative size because a small to me can still be a small to somebody else, even though our precise hours could be very different on what that means. And so if you're trying to promote that shared ownership, really, really lean into like a generic label of relative sizing versus falling down that trap of precise, metrics in terms of, because that's only pushing you over to that task guaranteed space and really kind of hurting some shared ownership in your groups and stuff. 4 is weaponizing it. If it's just a guess, you don't get to walk around and go, are you done yet? Are you done yet? Why are you not done yet? You said you were going to be done. You said it was going to be 4 hours. Why is it not done yet? See how if you do the label, it makes that a little bit easier too. See how they all play together? But weaponizing it, I get so many requests. Trisha, will you do this training for the team? Their estimates are never right. It's like, okay, what's the real root issue there, right? Because estimates may not be right. They're guesses. Now, if they're never right, that's a different sentiment. But what does right mean? And so whenever I dig into it, it's usually one of those, well, we need to know when they're going to be done. And I want to know all the scope. I want it on this time and I want it to cost this amount. Like, oh, so you want the iron triangle for knowledge work that we've proven is completely unrealistic. So there's no amount of estimating that the team's going to do that's ever still going to deliver for that. And then we play this game. Well, I'll estimate, I'll pretend, and then who's going to call chicken first? And this plays out over and over and over again. So you can't weaponize it. If you want the teams to genuinely have a real discussion about with discovery and alignment for the estimating, you can't turn around and then weaponize whether they're done yet or not. If it's knowledge work, then something needs to be flexible, whether it's the date, the scope, or the cost. Everything cannot be locked. That only works in task-based work. It does not work in knowledge work. And so when I hear things like this, it's like they want to weaponize and try and pretend like they agree estimates are guesses, but in reality, I want it to be this fixed, guaranteed, so I can feel good. And it's like, no, that we don't want to play that game anymore. Estimates in knowledge work are guesses, and if you weaponize them, it makes people not even get the initial benefit from them, let alone the secondary benefit. And if the secondary benefit of the projection is what you're most concerned about, don't make them stop the first part of it by not wanting anything to do with it because they're always going to be wrong or look bad. It's a losing battle over and over and over, over and over again. Olaf, hi there. Asked a question. Doesn't all come down to power dynamics? There are absolutely power dynamics in terms of who's asking for the estimates and what they're using. Like at the end of the day, estimates should be for within the team and by the team and for the team to help them plan, which leads into like that. My last element is looking for patterns of estimating. Because at the end of the day, it's like I had a team that was constantly underestimating, but they needed to see that pattern that on the second day of every sprint, they would dramatically increase. And it's like, oh, we just didn't want to look bad and think that was going to take longer. And I'm like, okay, but that's a pattern and we can be adjusting that. But at the end of the day, as you highlight, some people have power can make those demands. And this is where when they make the demands and treat it like the iron triangle and treat estimates like a guarantee and not the guess that they are in knowledge work, then you don't even get the primary benefits, let alone the secondary benefits. So I can't say, well, just ignore those people, right? But I also try and really reinforce what those estimates are for, what that benefit is for and what's going on. And part of it is also having a little empathy for why they're asking for it. So many organizations are built on task-based approaches and not really embracing the knowledge work and thinking more into what would it mean to embrace knowledge work to achieve what they ultimately want to achieve, right? A team that gets better at the primary benefits of estimating and knowledge work, of aligning and discovery together, are actually gonna be a better team and delivering, which is gonna get you the better projection. So if that's ultimately what you want, don't focus there first. That's a transition and a journey that the team has to go on by not weaponizing it. And this is hard. It's scary. I know it's scary. But I also want to remind leaders, especially the ones with the power dynamics, that, but Trisha, I need to know when they're done. Let's get real. You don't know now. Said with love. But we all lie. I don't know how many status reports I've seen that pretend like everything's green until the day before delivery, and then it's not, and everybody's like, whoa, what's going on? Because we can't be truthful about the estimates as we're going along. Estimates are not guarantees. They're ways to inspect and adapt. But if we can't inspect and adapt, and we have to keep pretending to march to this thing at the end that's just being weaponized, you're not getting the result you want now. So let's not rewrite history. And so my argument always is, well, let's experiment and try something different because it's not working today either. So that's kind of some of my dynamics of estimating. It's really frustrating for me to watch those power, especially those power dynamics come in and frustrations with the teams where they lose the whole point of what estimating is really about. But I also try to have empathy that that's all they've really known. I just want to burst the bubble that you're achieving it today. Your chances of achieving it are a lot better when we do lean into the fact that they're guesses, to lean into estimating, not over, not under, and to lean into the relative size of it so that we can find the patterns, that we can find things that will help us move forward with it. I'm sorry, I'm reading comments as I go along. They're making me happy with that. So that's my rant for the September and little highlights for estimating as we're going forward with it. What's coming up for me? A lot of things is coming up for me. So I have 2 Leading Amazing Teams courses with Jake Calabrese, one virtually in September. And I think there are still a couple seats left for that. So jump on that if you want. And then we are doing one in person in Denver in November. I'm so excited. I mean, this is nice, but I'm sick of looking at myself on the camera. I want to see people. I want to see Olaf. I want to see others. Like, I want to see people. So with that in mind, I'm actually doing the keynote at Des Moines DevOps this month. Actually, I travel out next week. And I am doing the keynote in TechWells in November in Orlando, and I'm headed over to Amsterdam to speak at the Scrum Gathering as well. So I will be at several conferences. If you see me, someone just recently said they saw me, but they didn't want to bother me because I was talking. I will always be talking at a conference. Please interrupt me. Please come and say hi. Please talk. You will never see me just like totally not talking to anybody at a conference. It won't happen. So just interrupt me, see me as we're going. I do have an impactful training and speaking course, but it might be full now this month. And my next advanced CSM is already full as well. So I'll be posting new classes for those coming up, so you can check those out. But the only thing in person will be that Leading Amazing Teams course with Jake in Denver in November. With that. So thanks for taking and spending some time with me, and good luck with estimating as you go forth, and I'll see you next month.